I think that was a very lovely introduction by Elaine as to what I'm going to talk about here this morning. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My lecture is called The Secret Energies at the Megalithic Sites. My name is Anne-Marie Delmotte. I am from Belgium and I work as a scientist for the Belgian government. I was recently made knight as an honorification for my work for the Belgian government. I am currently on a several years long career break from my function to work on my own scientific research project about subtle energy, which is completely separate and has nothing to do with my work for the Belgian government. I also have a degree in Usui Reiki, a master degree, Usui Reiki, Shamanic Reiki, Crystal Reiki, and practitioner degree in Reiki space clearing. I have written about my energy research in several books. I will elaborate on my books later in this talk. Because I am hypersensitive to all kinds of energies and wanted to objectify what I was sensing, I searched for an instrument that is able to measure and determine these energies objectively and scientifically. I found this to be the case for the Lecher antenna, which I acquired in 2008. It is with the Lecher antenna that I measured the energies at the megalithic sites. Now, as you maybe probably can hear, English is not my native language, but I will do my very best to express myself in a clear manner. And I have prepared these cards, especially for today, from which I will read from time to time to make sure that my explanations are correct. As you can see, I am wearing a wireless microphone because I am recording this lecture for people who can't be here today. And I hope that this wireless microphone, which is a source of electromagnetic radiation, won't interfere with the measurements that I will be doing here today. I will only doing a few measurements just to demonstrate how the Lecher antenna works. But electromagnetic radiation is known as a source of interference into whatever you're doing with subtle energies. And when I go measure a site, I always shut down my smartphone or put it on flight mode and take off my watch that runs on batteries because they also cause interference. I would advise you to do the same if you're visiting a megalithic site. If you want to take in and feel the energies, do switch off your phone, take off your watch on batteries, because if the battery is almost empty, it will start to draw on your own energies, charging itself. So it can be a very a nuisance towards your own bioenergies. Now, it was not easy to structure this lecture, but I will, to the best of my ability, try to make it as logical and understandable as possible. My aim is to gradually build up this presentation so you will be able to better understand what is happening at the megalithic sites, as I find it to be an interaction between the energies of the land, as Elaine was explaining earlier, and the stones used to build these megaliths. My presentation is structured as follows and will take about 50 minutes. Questions can be asked after the lecture. I will first say something about my megalithic research. Then I will explain what a Lecher antenna is, how it was developed, and how it works. I will then briefly elaborate on what a Lecher antenna can be used for. I discovered that certain materials which I found in Sligo can be used to create a very special sacred space. I will tell you how I came to this discovery. And finally, I will explain what energetic interactions are taking place between the land and Rathcroghan Mount. History of my megalithic research. I am privileged to have a home place for many years now in Sligo, which allowed me to extensively research the multitude of local megalithic sites like Rathcroghan, Maeve's Cairn, Carramore, Carrowkeel, Cairnsill, Knocknashee, Creevykeel, and so on. The west coast of Ireland has many cairns, dolmen, stone circles, and quartz cairns. There are, however, very little standing stones. This is why I decided to research these in Brittany too, mainly in Connaught. The last 2 years I spent a good deal of time in Brittany, but also at the Lecher cairns in Ireland. As the energy configurations I find are comparable between Ireland and France, I would dare to say that there are definitely laws of physics at hand. It has been a journey of discovery upon discovery, and the sites in Ireland have allowed me to better understand the sites in France and vice versa. I hope that after my presentation, you will be convinced of the importance of the megaliths and why they should be honored and approached with the deepest respect for serving plant, animal, and man for all these thousands of years. This year's theme of this conference here at Rathcroghan is to explore the culture and spirituality of ancient Ireland and its many connections to the wider European world. My energy research is mainly of very ancient sites dating from 5000 to 2000 BC. Well, I actually prefer 5000 to 3000 BC. So that's about 7,000 to 5,000 years old. The younger the sites, the more sophisticated their construction becomes, although the results at an energetic level and the building principles stay the same. This would tend me to conclude that the knowledge of the energies of the land and how to work them by means of certain stones is very ancient and does not evolve. So 7,000 years ago, the ancients knew how to work with the stones and the land. And when you look at the megaliths through time, that doesn't evolve anymore. It's more like the knowledge is getting lost. So the knowledge was there in the beginning, but the megaliths become more sophisticated, and then there's this like Elaine said, a connection that's lost between the beings, human beings, and the megaliths and the land. Now, as to the instrument that I used to measure the energies at the megalithic sites, a Lecher antenna. So this is a Lecher antenna. And this is a scientific instrument that can receive and send energy. Now, it consists of two metal rods here just next to the ruler. These are the Lecher wires. It has two arms to hold the instrument. It has a base block, which is the detector. And then it has a ruler in centimeters, and it has a movable cursor. So to change which energy you want to look for or send. Now my Lecher antenna comes with a magnetized rod in one of the arms, and that is to protect the user from the negative energy that the user is measuring. It is also used to authenticate signal to see whether it is genuine, and it's very handy to have when you're researching the energies more profoundly. Now, the Lecher antenna the principle of the Lecher antenna was developed by the Austrian physicist Ernst Lecher in 1889. He was a colleague of Einstein, And the Lecher wires were then further adapted by physicist Rudolf Schneider to be able to be used as a measuring device of energies of very low intensity. Dr. Hartmann was a contemporary of Lecher, and he discovered that the Earth is surrounded by an electromagnetic grid of energy lines running north to south and west to east. Hartmann also found a relationship between illness and this energy grid, but more about this later. Now, as to the Hartmann grid, so the entire Earth is surrounded by these energy grid lines, and they go north. The north is there. That's the north. North to south, west to east, and the north to south lines, they are every 2 meters, an average of every 2 meters. Sometimes they can be even closer together or just a little bit wider together. And the east-west lines, they are every 2.5 meters. So these lines are everywhere. They're in here, they're in your house, they're in open air, they're everywhere. I will come back to this a little bit later in the talk. Now, I have studied with somebody who studied with, who is now deceased, with Dr. Hartmann and Rudolf Schneider in Germany. So I'm second generation. But I have also studied with or from many other people, of which one is a Belgian medical doctor who used the Lecher antenna on about 10,000 cases during his career and who wrote about it. Now, more grids were discovered since the discovery of the Hartmann grid, of which another is also named after the one who discovered it, and that one is called the Curry grid. Now, there are other grids as well. Now, that Curry grid runs, I have to look, I don't know it off by heart, but in here, it runs this way and that way. And these lines are 2.4 to 3.5 meters apart. So they're in here as well, they're in your house, they're everywhere. And where these lines cross, it depends on the grid, but say you have a crossing of 2 Hartmann lines and 1 Curry line, that spot, that if you sleep on that, that will cause some kind of effect on your health. But I will come back to this later as well. Now, as to the Lecher antenna, there is a ruler here in centimeters. So the antenna measures in centimeters. And if I put this cursor all the way up there, I am looking at waves, energies that have this wavelength. Yeah, I'm getting a bit scientific here. So these are the energies I'm looking for or I'm sending. If I go all the way down here, I have these very short waves. Now, all the way down here, that you can have a conversion formula. Just you need the speed of light for that, and you can calculate how many hertz frequency that corresponds to. So all the way down here is 30 gigahertz, and all the way up here is 1.5 gigahertz. So that range, 1.5 to 30 gigahertz, it's actually the range of radio waves. So when you are doing this, when you are changing the cursor, you're actually like turning the knob of an old-fashioned radio, looking for different channels. So we're looking for different energies, or we're looking for different music on the radio. Now, what can this Lecher antenna be used for? For a lot of things, I have to say. I already mentioned the medical doctor I met personally who worked on 10,000 cases during his career and who took his time to write about it. There are other doctors who work with the Lecher antenna, but these do not write about it, which I find somewhat of a shame, because that is knowledge that will become lost over time again. So I am writing about my discoveries and my findings. If I'm gone, at least my books will still be here, and my knowledge will be able be put to good use. Now, one of the applications of the Lecher antenna is reading and balancing a person's bioenergies. There's just one case, which is a remarkable case of my mother, I would like to mention here. My mother had only 1 or 2 days left to live, and because she had dementia, I asked my stepdad whether he would be okay with me trying something with the Lecher antenna. I did not have extensive bioenergy knowledge how to work with this instrument at that point, but I did with whatever I knew. And when I did a reading of her bioenergies, I saw that her connection to the earth was almost gone. And that means that she was leaving us soon. Now, I sent her that energy overnight, and I also sent her a couple of hours of energy to activate her central nervous system for her dementia. And I have to say that the next day she was already more lucid. And 2 days after this intervention, she was sitting in the recreation room with the other residents at the nursing home. Now, she also had an incurable diarrhea caused by Clostridium difficile. It's a very nasty bug to have. It's very, very, very difficult to get rid of. But then I did, in the next 3 weeks, I did 2 interventions with the Lecher antenna, sending her energy to strengthen her immune system, and she got cured from that diarrhea. And my mom didn't know what was happening. She had dementia. She didn't have a clue that I was doing this. So this is certainly not placebo. And for me, this was a real eye-opener. I didn't believe anything they taught me about bioenergy and working with this instrument. But for me, this was a life changer. So I got very interested as well in training how to use this instrument for bioenergies as from that point on. Now, another application of the Lecher antenna is in geobiology. Maybe just a word what geobiology is. Geobiology is the interdisciplinary science dealing with the interaction between organisms and ecosystems and their physical environment. Now, in simpler words, it's the interaction between the earth and living beings. Now, Dr. Hartmann and many others after him discovered a relationship between geopathic stress and illness. I just talked about the crossing of 2 Hartmann lines and a Curry line, that spot would be something you wouldn't want to sleep on because it would cause some kind of effect on your health. Now, these zones are called active zones or zones of geopathic stress. What is geopathic stress? It is a form of trauma caused by disturbed or anomalous energies within the Earth's mantle. The Earth is surrounded by energy grids that can become harmful to life. Geopathic stress has been implicated in a number of undesirable effects of human health, from simple conditions such as sleeplessness or confusion to highly dangerous ones such as cancer, decreased fertility, and autoimmune dysfunction. Dangerous causes of geopathic stress are the harmful underground water currents. Other causes of geopathic stress are negative ley lines, global geomagnetic grid crossings, so the ones like I just talked about, the Curry and Hartmann line crossings, underground caverns, natural mineral concentrations that all exhibit similar effects. Now, it is, as I said, not important not to sleep on these active zones or geopathic stress, as the resistance of the skin is very low when we sleep, which makes us even more susceptible to these negative energies. Now, I would like to illustrate that by a very simple case, although not unimportant, and that was the one of my stepdad. He had a prostate operation and he wasn't recuperating from this. It had been 6 weeks and he wasn't improving. So I asked him whether I could do a measurement of his hospital bed, and he agreed. He gave his permission. It's always important to get permission. if you want to work on somebody or for somebody. And I looked for the grid lines, I looked for active zones on his bed, and indeed, the spot he was operated on had a crossing of two Hartmann lines and a running water current or another grid line. I don't remember exactly because I didn't make notes of it. But I just moved the bed a little bit. I think it was about 25 centimeters. I just moved the bed aside. So his body wouldn't be on that active zone anymore. And I went to talk to the nursing staff and told them about this. And to my surprise, they were actually very supportive. And they said, okay, we won't move the bed back. Very well done. Because they had noticed as well that he wasn't improving. And he made a speedy recovery after this. 3 weeks later, he was able to get home. So a very small intervention can make all the difference. But you have to be aware. And if you can do this yourself, this is a very handy instrument to have. Now I would like to do a little demonstration. As I already explained before, the Hartmann lines are north to south, they're every 2 meters, and west to east, they're every 2.5 meters. And the Curry lines are every 2.4 to 3.5 meters in both directions, so in that direction or in that direction. So I might just start with looking for a Curry line. No, I wasn't here before. I come here a lot. I wasn't here before just to check whether I would be able to do this and stay in view of my tablet there, and indeed I can. So I have a good idea where the lines are. So if I look for Curry, so I know that they go like that. So if I start walking this way, now I forgot to mention this earlier. What is happening here is actually, this instrument is a scientific instrument. It is not like a pendulum. It is based on real science. It was developed by physicists and it is real science. This is resonance between what I am looking for and what is present. Resonance, an example of resonance is somebody singing a high note and the glass starts to tremble somewhere else in the room or even shatter. That is resonance. So when I come into a signal here, there are forces, physical forces in this instrument that will make it tremble slightly. And you can actually see that these forces are coming in. So it's just a question of getting used to working with the instrument, not to hold it too tightly or too loose. So if you feel that energy coming in, that it just drops. So I can just show it again. You will see that I have no control over this. This is resonance between the energy line and what I am looking for. It has nothing to do with me. Now, Hartmann grid, if I go, the Hartmann grid runs diagonally in here. So if I this is a Hartmann line. So if I follow this line, I can do this. This is where the line goes. If I go back to my Curry line here, so the line is here. It's just between you two there. You're not on it. You probably instinctively avoided to sit there. So that's just a short demonstration of how the Lecher antenna works. Now, I would like to say something about the experiments I conducted at my house in Sligo, which led up to better understand and research the megalithic sites. It all started when I made a little stone circle in my garden. I checked the grass plot of my back garden for grid lines, for Hartmann and Curry grid. So I picked a spot where there was a lot going on. And there is also a ley line. I call it Delmotte ley line. I named it after myself because I actually discovered it. That was running through this stone circle. Now, this is a ley line that is a straight line between two structures of the same type. And this line is very likely, I'm very close to Cairnshill and Carmore and Knocknarea Maeve's Cairn. So this line is very likely coming from Maeve's Cairn, because I can actually see Maeve's Cairn from my house, or it could be from the Listahol Cairn at Carmore. But I wanted to see if I put the stone circle around that, the ley line, Curry and Hartmann grid lines, whether something would change. And it did. The interior of the stone circle was rid of those Hartmann and Curry lines. So when I looked for them, they were just outside the stone circle. They were heaped up just outside of the stone circle. So, okay. I was just doing experiments. So I researched this. I looked around, I talked to people, I researched this in books on the internet. And I came across a lady, a geobiologist, Swiss building engineer called Blanche Mertz. And she wrote a book about this, and she found the same thing at the Pyramid of Giza and at temples in Tibet and India. So the grid lines, they heap up just outside of the structure. So that was interesting. I went also to Carmore, because I'm very close to Carmore. It's full of stone circles. I went to see whether that was the case there as well, and indeed, it was the same thing. So the Curry and the grid lines are shifted out of the interior of the stone circle.